Hey man, recording this for you because you recently told me that you weren't getting enough lead flow and just people weren't booking calls. And I think that there's a tweak that you can make in your content that will allow you to get that lead flow and start booking these calls. Just kind of not stressed, because it's quite stressful when you don't get any leads, because people tell you be detached in calls, but when you actually get on the calls and that's the only call you've had in weeks, it's kind of tough because that is the only call you've had in weeks. Whereas if you actually have a full pipeline, it's actually quite easy to be detached, because you know that if you don't close this person, you might close the next one or the next one. You're just less needy, and then people feel that. And it's kind of why people say that when it rains, it pours, because when it's bad, it gets really bad because you're just super needy and it just get worse. But when you're feeling good about it and when you actually get the leads, it's like people feel that you have the lead flow, people feel that you have options, and they just start complying with the stuff you say because they know that you kind of have the power in that dynamic. So after building 200,000 follower audience, 7-figure exit, 7-figure community, around 4,000 paying customers, I made a bunch of mistakes that frankly kind of killed my engagement. If you go to my profile now, I don't have the best engagement in the world, but what I got in the end was a lesson that helped me both grow and monetize this thing at the same time. And I feel like the way you are doing it right now, it might be hurting you. And I just don't want that to happen to you. And this is why I'm recording this video. One core concept, I wanted to make this training of many things, but I think if I could just implement one core concept that I can give you and you can apply it over and over again to the things that you create, it's actually going to help you more than if I just give you an entire guide. When was the last time you remembered a 10-step list? But you probably remember one concept that actually helped, that actually changed your life and the way you do things. And this actually is from, it kind of came through a podcast that I was doing with Eddie and Marcos, and it just came through it, which was be uncopypasteable. That's kind of my philosophy for content. Like, you can't be copy-pastable. If anybody could take anything you create, copy and paste it, and it makes sense, then that should not have been posted by you. You should not have posted that. So I'll give you an example. You will see my content. It's a lot of my experiences. It's actually 100%, or I try it to be 100% of my own experiences of things that I have done, because I have this one principle in mind: be uncopy-pastable. And I'll tell you why. Nowadays, with AI and a bunch of templates and people getting into kind of the same niches and markets that we are getting into, it's complicated because there's a lot of quantity. It's easy to create a bunch of reels or other stuff. And the problem with that is that what used to work before, it gets diluted from newbies, or I don't want to say newbies, but people that are new to that market specifically, because they see something that's working and they copy paste only kind of the top thing, but they don't analyze the depth of it. They don't know where it comes from. It's why you may copy a headline of a really good performing ad and it may not perform well for you. It's because you're copying only the surface thing, not the bottom of the iceberg, right? All the depth that comes from it. What happens when you create a lot of quantity in a market is the value of everything that's created there gets reduced. Think about it. If there were only 10 posts every day, you would like really take advantage of those posts. You would actually read them. But because there's billions of posts every day, you kind of get numb to it. Your ears grow deaf to everything you see. So in my opinion, quantity is not the solution. And I'll tell you a story here that I spent a lot of money on YouTube, a lot of money in Instagram ads, a lot of money in like coaching and going on other cross platforms, and posting more, even though I have 200,000 followers, didn't necessarily correlate to making more. And if you think about that for a second, that kind of goes against the grain. People say that volume is the answer, just do more. And in some aspects, I agree, like that is the answer. But when it comes to content, I don't think it's the answer, because everybody can create more. You're not gonna outpost people, but what you can do is you can outperform people by thinking about it in a different way. So in a world where quantity is so prevalent, quality gains relevance, because kind of the law of economics is the power dynamic, or the power goes to the most scarce resource. So when quantity is more, then quality gains more relevance. And creating quality content then becomes something that you might want to get interested in, because one good post can outweigh 10 normal posts. So what does quality look like? I don't mean production quality or even really good writing. What I really mean is quality. I want you to equal it to you, your own experiences, your own thing, being uncopy-pastable. I don't believe in tailoring yourself to a market. I believe in tailoring a market to you. And the way you tailor a market to you is you expose your values to the market, is you post your own experiences, what you have done, what you have built, what are you working on. When you become uncopy-pastable, there is by definition only one of you. When there is only one of you, you're scarce. When you're scarce, you become more valuable because, well, you're scarce, right? things that there's only one of are more valuable than things there are a billion of. A mistake I made was taking templates and posting them just right off the bat. Because if I just post them without relating it to my own experiences, then people didn't have a reason to follow me. They only had a reason to follow the message. And if you could follow the message, you might as well go to the top guy in the industry. If I posted today a thread on 10 books that will help you out, why would you read it from me and not from Elon? Doesn't really make sense. But if I say 10 tips that have helped me achieve the level of success I have achieved at this moment of time, if you want something that I have achieved, then it makes more sense because it's related to me. So my main thing is being uncopypasteable. And the way you do this is with this other kind of concept that I think about daily, which is great content isn't created, great content is collected. When you create content, you think in the future. What will hit? What can I create that will get engagement? It's in the future. When you collect content, you look at the past. What have I created? What have I done? What can I share from the things that I have already done? And you might think that giving stuff from the future, and that's what a lot of guides talk about, give things in the present or in the future that might help them. That gets a lot of engagement, but the problem is it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't answer the question, why should I listen to you? Whereas if instead of creating content, you collect content and you go to the past and you think about what are my own experiences, my own unique takes, then you're playing a different game than your competition. You're thinking about what will hit. You're thinking about what you have already done that will resonate. Because being real, you're gonna sell something eventually, and you can only sell something that will help people get to the point at where you're at. If you're making 10K a month, you can't sell something that will make someone 20K a month. It just doesn't make sense. It's like the fat personal trainer or the ghostwriter with 2 followers. It just doesn't make sense. So by definition, you can only get people to your level of success of what you're selling. When you create content from the past, from things that you have already done, what's interesting is you're kind of showing people what they could be like with you and only with you because you're sharing your own experiences. If you show them what they could be like in the future, whereas if you just create content and not collect content, that might register in their minds as, I see what this guy is posting and I see the importance, but he's not there yet. So let me go to someone who already is. So in reality, you amplified a message, you got leads, and you probably got sales, but not for you and for someone else. That happens when you create content. When you collect content, you're speaking in different terms. You have more confidence. Creating content becomes easier. So if you're kind of in the situation in which creating content is hard because you don't know if it's persuasive, the problem is you're creating it. You're not collecting it. You're looking in the past and people are like, I haven't achieved much, or I only have a limited amount of case studies. And the problem there is not in the amount of case studies, but in how you think about the content. You don't need more case studies. You don't need more events. You need better memory and recalling what has already happened. I'll give you an example. Let's say you accomplish certain result for a company. You help them create more content in less time. You could frame it as, how we help this company make more content in less time. That is one way, but you could give it a different angle as well, which is how we save $50,000 in a company's bottom line by automating their content production process. It's the same thing, but it's a different angle. Or you could do another one in how AI helped this person get to this result and how we implemented it with our method, right? That's another one. And when you realize how many different angles you can spin on stuff, you understand that you don't need more events, you need better memory. You need to recall what has already happened in the past. And people call this sawdust, and I think this example is really beautiful. Sawdust is like, if you think of yourself as a carpenter, you're creating work, you're doing things, a table, whatever. And then as you work, you create sawdust, things that don't work, things that do work, and they're just like all over the floor. That sawdust is a content. It's things that you have already done. And people don't like to do this because it feels too easy. Or actually, maybe some people do like it. I do like it. But it's counterintuitive to think that in order to create your best content, you need to look to the past instead of looking at the future. Right now, an actionable step you can take is thinking about what have I done this week, last month, in my life that maybe somebody that I can sell to wants. And a good exercise is actually taking out pen and paper and writing it down and thinking about all the stories associated with your life. You're not watching this video right now out of randomness, right? You're probably kind of into business. You've already done some stuff. And this is where I find mindset that kind of hurts people. People go, in the beginning, what do you do? If you're a beginner, what do you do? And it's like, yes, you may be a beginner, but because you're comparing yourself to people who are way ahead of you. Compared to them, you are a beginner. But in every kind of body of knowledge, there's like a chain. If you look at yourself as like a link inside the chain, There's always going to be people ahead of you, and you look at them and think, they're way ahead of me. But there's always going to be people behind. There's always going to be people who make a little bit less money than you, have less experience than you, taking a few less courses than you, and you talk to them. The real kind of mindfuck is when you realize that you being there in that chain link, other people look at yourself as, man, that guy's not a beginner anymore. That guy's advanced. And when you think about that, creating content is way less stressful because you don't need to think about how do I compete with the big boys. You just need to think about what have I done that can help the people who are behind me? Because as we covered, great content isn't created, great content is collected. And a good exercise to do this, I call it, I don't like this word, but it's kind of this matrix that I create. Personally, I'm not a fan of creating processes to write, because I do believe that they add friction to the writing process. This is why I create beautiful Notion pages and they have all these colors and I don't use them 2 days in, right? But this is one that actually stood the test of time. This one actually I do use. Let me walk you through that. I like to think it as a 4x4 matrix. So there's 4 objects here and 4 objects here. Here you have business, clients, this month, and life. So what we're going to do is we're going to collect stories about business, your business, clients, things that had happened this month and in your life. And at the top, we're going to have another 4 pillars. So it's good story, great story, bad story, and ugly story. So if you look at it from this perspective, you actually have 16 things you can talk about. You can do it right now. What is one thing that has happened in your life or in your business this month that was kind of positive, that you were like, this was good. You closed a client, maybe, right? So there you go. You have collected something. What you can analyze is, and what you don't understand is, people want to know how you close that client. They actually do. You just think they don't because you compare yourself to people way ahead of you. But if you think about how can I help this person that has not achieved this, how to get that result, then you can find that your fingers just move faster, your mind just flows, and you can write better stuff because you don't really need to create content. You just need to recall what has happened. And when I have this matrix, I come up with a 1 or 2 sentence story for each. And then it's as easy as just picking. It's just finding what's the story I want to tell today, and that becomes the post of the day. When it comes to cadence, I don't think about how many posts I want to post every day. I think about fundamentals that I have in my life that I want to do every day. So if you check out my to-do list is actually just do the fundamentals. And then after I'm done with the fundamentals, then I can see what's going on that day and do that. But the 5 fundamentals that I have personally that I do every day are, first of all, I will deliver for my clients. So product is king. I'll try to make it good for them. 2 is I make an offer every day, usually via email, sometimes via social, not that often, but usually via email. I will promote my list every day. I think that's important because when you take people to the list, it's a more private conversation and selling is kind of expected, so you can do it more. I show, don't tell. So if I give a solution, I won't just tell you the solution, I'll show it to you. There's a reason why I started this video with how many followers I have or what I've built or how much money I've made, just because I want to show you that this thing actually happened and not just tell you, do this because it's going to 10x your impressions in your cash revenue, right? We don't do that. And the last thing is conversations, because I believe that conversions happen in conversations. And when you actually talk to people, you'll find out that people move along the funnel way faster than if you just depend on traffic and your own writing. When you actually talk to people, they give you money faster. That's the strategy. That's kind of the higher level thing. If you want the smaller level thing or like the actual tactics, I try to do OPAD. OPAD is 1 post a day. So 1 post a day on Twitter or X or LinkedIn or Instagram. To me, that's good. They're 99% of the time, they're the same post. Just being real. And it's because, you know, people just like consuming stuff in different places. So 1 podcast a week. I don't recommend you do a podcast if you don't really want to. I actually believe in doing one thing, taking it to the point at which it makes you enough money so that you won't check the prices at the menu. When that happens, then yeah, go cross-platform. But for me, 1 platform is enough. OPAD, 1 post a day is enough. OPATT, 1 platform at a time. OPAT is enough as well. And I find that as long as I stick to these 5, which is deliver for clients, make an offer, promote my list, show, don't tell, and have conversations, I think that that actually puts me in a really good cadence to both grow and monetize an account at the same time. And it's just helpful and it's a more honest form of marketing. Often I will find that it's not that I don't like recording these kind of videos. It's not that I don't like writing. It's that I don't like feeling icky when I do it. I don't like feeling like I'm manipulating people. I don't like exaggerating because I believe that kind of taints your soul in a way and it's just bad. But when you show, don't tell, you're actually marketing without doing what most marketers do, which is manipulate the truth. You're not manipulating anything because you're just showing them what you do. And when you do it like that, often you'll find that writer's block just disappears because you're not thinking about how can I make this engaging. You're just thinking about how can I tell this story. So if you ever sat with your family at the dinner table and told a story, then you can follow this process. And that's actually quite easy. So this is just something that I see a lot of people do that I think in the long term is going to bite them in the ass like it bit me. Again, if you check out my engagement, it's quite bad. If you check out my list, a big chunk is dead. And I have like 1,000 posts on Instagram, and that got me like 10,000 followers. That's not a good ratio. That's just not good. But I was copy pastable. And because I was copy pastable, people didn't have a reason to buy from me specifically, to listen to me specifically. And if you are uncopy pastable, if you talk about only the things you have done, you can use these stories and go back to your life and retell what has happened in your life so that people can get to the point of where you're at. You will thank yourself for having done it the right way. So hopefully that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.